This cake was made from leftovers from my daughter's 13th birthday cake. You might want to go check that video out. I uploaded that just before this video. Okay, so here I'm adding a flour powder type consistency and leftover date paste that I'd made, which you can see in the other video. It was really just dates, water, sea moss, carob powder, and vanilla bean. So I'm just adding that until it seems to be about the right consistency. You don't want it too runny, too wet. You want it to be able to hold its shape. You're really using enough date paste so that it makes it sticky enough. You know, it holds all the walnuts together. So yeah, now I've mixed that all together. I'm going to press it all in the bottom of the pan. So it's almost like a raw cheesecake base, basically. So it's kind of like a cheesecake, but the main filling is more walnuts and carob. So yeah, you know, whereas obviously with cheesecake it's more of a neutral flavor and a lemony kind of filling normally. Okay, so here you see I'm just pressing it all into the bottom of the pan, making sure it's all got a good covering everywhere, because if it hasn't, then somebody's obviously not going to have any base. So that's fairly important. And I only just had enough, I think, of the mix, being I'm just using leftovers to cover the bottom. Sometimes I may do a little bit thicker, it just depends. You can also put this in the dehydrator like I had in my other video, but it's really not necessary. To be honest, sometimes I do it one way, sometimes I do it the other, it just depends. It's just when you put in the dehydrator, it just dries it a little bit more. But this is good like this. Okay, so now I'm adding the leftover filling from my other cake. This was just soaked walnuts blended with dates, vanilla, and carob with some purple sea moss. And then here we go. Just had to put my toddler on the side. Okay, so I'm just getting all of that out, making sure I use all of the leftover mix. Okay, now I'm just using some of the leftover date paste I had. That again, it was just the dates blended with the carob and vanilla. And I think I had a little bit more of the soaked walnuts, so I just threw that in there. You could do this in a bit of a more organized way if you're not using leftovers, obviously. And then I've got some more purple sea moss that I've already soaked. This helps hold it all together. I quite like using this, as well as adding extra nutrition. And you can see my toddler's helping there by adding some extra in. Okay, so now I'm adding some bananas. This was not in the other cake I made, so this one's obviously a little bit different. It's good to add a bit of extra fruit in, and I like using the bananas because they're also very cheap. So if you're trying to make these things in a budget, then that's great. So here you go, a bit of extra carob to make sure it's got that good flavor. And that's another reason why I like using the walnuts. They're a good taste, but they're also one of the cheapest nuts as well. So that's another bonus when you're trying to keep things cheap with a family. So you can see it's a nice thick consistency. So it should hold its shape when you take it out and cut it. If it ends up being too runny, then you'll need to make it as a frozen cake. So put it in the freezer. So then when you cut it, it's going to keep its shape. But if you make it the right consistency, then you'll be fine. So here you see I'm just spreading it all around, making sure I get it all to the edges. That's obviously pretty important. And you can see I have two assistants now, both my toddlers. Okay, so then once this is done, I'm now going to add the cherries. Now I'm actually dipping the cherries in the leftover date paste I had, just because I had it left to use up. You don't have to do that, but I did think it would be nice to make them extra sweet. For me and my family, we can never have too much dates. So yeah, so as you can see, I've got an assistant. My toddler's helping me put the cherries on. You can obviously put them on however you want, or you could even blend the cherries with dates and pour it on that way, but I liked it this way. So here you go, you got to make sure you carefully take it out. And I had my toddler being a little bit crazy on the side, so I decided to remove him before I then took it out. So here you go. I'm very carefully taking it out so it doesn't get knocked and ruined. And I'm always happy when I take it out and it keeps its shape nicely, especially when I've not done it as a frozen dessert. But to be honest, I normally keep these in the freezer once I've made it, and then if there's any left over, because these are really filling. You think you can eat loads and loads, but with all those nuts, they're super filling. So yeah, afterwards I tend to keep them in the freezer, and then we finish them off as frozen desserts. But yeah, this worked great. This wasn't frozen at this stage, but it's your choice how you want to do it. There you can see, nice piece, it's all held together. And I like that these are held together without using coconut oil, which a lot of recipes, raw recipes, use coconut oil to help keep it together. So you see the pieces on the side. And my kids were really happy to get this bonus dessert after they'd had the other dessert for my daughter's birthday the day before. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought, or if you have any questions in the comments below. Please give this a thumbs up if you liked it, and make sure you subscribe because I've got lots more good videos coming up.